In the early summer night of June 13th, 1993, a terrible tragedy unfolded in a quiet corner of Minneapolis, Minnesota. A murder so violent, so brutal, that it would haunt the city for decades to come. Jeanie Childs, a 35-year-old woman, was found stabbed more than 60 times inside her apartment on the 21st floor of a high-rise building. That night, peace was shattered by a savage attack that left a woman dead, a family broken, and a mystery that would remain unsolved for over 2 decades. But this is not just the story of a crime. It is the story of relentless pursuit for justice, the evolution of forensic science, and the hope that even the coldest of cases can be solved. The tragedy began in apartment 2104, a modest unit nestled within a towering 21-story building in downtown Minneapolis. Maintenance workers had been alerted to flooding on the floors below. Upon investigation, they discovered water running from a shower left open in Jeanie Childs' apartment. Blood covered the bedroom floor and walls. Jeanie lay partially hidden under her bed, a stark and distressing sight. The room showed signs of a violent struggle, a shattered lamp, blood spatter on the ceiling, and most hauntingly, numerous pristine yet bloody footprints. Those footprints, left bare, were impressions of the killer stepping into his victim's blood, enough to imprint unique skin ridge details. These footprints would later become crucial to the investigation. Jeanie Childs was not just a crime statistic. She was a woman shaped by hardship and resilience. Born in 1958, Jeanie endured a childhood scarred by abuse. She confided to family members that she had been abused by a male relative during her early years, trauma that haunted her adult life. By the time she became a mother, her life was intertwined with challenges. She struggled with addiction and found herself entangled in prostitution, a desperate attempt influenced by her circumstances. Despite these hardships, those who knew Jeanie remember a woman who never lost her spark, a devoted mother to her stepchildren, and someone who, amidst turmoil, sought love and stability. Her tragic end robbed her family of a chance for healing and justice for years, a silence that would grow heavier as leads grew cold. In the days following the murder, police launched an intense investigation. The immediate focus was on those closest to Jeanie. Her boyfriend, Arthur Gray, with whom she lived, was one of the first persons of interest. Jeanie's family and friends spoke of a volatile relationship. Reports of domestic abuse surfaced. Yet, when investigators verified his alibi, a motorcycle trip out of town, corroborated by multiple witnesses, Arthur Gray was effectively cleared. Other suspects came under scrutiny, men with criminal backgrounds, violent histories, and curious connections to the area. John Eswine, an individual whose blood was found in the stairwell near Jeanie's apartment, became a person of interest. But Eswine claimed the blood had been there for years, and investigators lacked evidence placing him at the time of the murder. James Luther Carlton, a convicted sex offender and murderer, also drew attention due to similarities in victimology. Shoe prints matching Carlton's were found at a related crime scene years later, but no evidence definitively tied him to Jeanie's murder. The investigation yielded tantalizing leads, but no definitive answers. Years became decades. The case went cold. For 25 years, Jeanie Childs' murder remained unsolved. Her mother, Betty Ekman, refused to give up. She continued to write letters, plead with investigators, and keep her daughter's memory alive in the hope that one day justice would come. Cold cases are harrowing for families. Every passing year compounds grief with frustration. Lack of witnesses, fading memories, and degraded physical evidence hampered the police. But little did they know, advances in science would soon offer them new tools. After decades of silence, the case of Jeanie Childs entered a new chapter. Not through witness testimony or traditional detective work, but through the frontier of forensic science. The year was 2015, and the Minneapolis Police Department revived the investigation with a cold case unit dedicated to applying advances in DNA analysis. For over 20 years, forensic technology had rapidly evolved. What was once impossible, decoding minute traces of DNA left at a crime scene, had become routine. In Jeanie Childs' case, biological material was preserved carefully from the night of the murder. At the time, forensic science could only attempt limited analysis. But new methods allowed investigators to isolate and identify genetic profiles far more precisely. Using these advances, investigators extracted an unknown male DNA profile from the bloody footprints and other crime scene evidence. In a groundbreaking approach, detectives uploaded this profile into public genetic genealogy databases, like myheritage.com, which are typically used by amateur genealogists to trace ancestry. To the surprise of many, this search surfaced a close familial match. Investigators honed in on a name, Jerry Westrom, a local businessman and family man living nearby in Isani, Minnesota. Jerry Westrom was not a name anyone associated with violent crime. A well-respected entrepreneur, father of 3 children, devoted to community and church, Westrom's clean-cut appearance belied the brutal accusations that would soon engulf him. Friends and family expressed shock when news broke of his arrest. Wayne Triplett, a longtime acquaintance, simply could not reconcile the image. Jerry was a great guy. Never would have thought. DNA evidence is powerful but requires rigorous confirmation. To rule out contamination or error, detectives conducted covert surveillance of Jerry Westrom. When he attended a local hockey game, law enforcement seized an opportunity. From a discarded napkin Westrom used, they obtained a fresh saliva sample. DNA analysis confirmed the match with the unknown male DNA from the crime scene, irrefutable proof placing Westrom at the scene at some point. Though DNA was the crown jewel of the case, the footprints left behind in Jeanie Childs' blood told their own story. At the crime scene, investigators had identified at least 7 distinct bloody footprints. Mark Ulrich, a forensic expert with the Minneapolis Police Department, meticulously analyzed the prints, comparing them to Westrom's bare feet. Footprints can be as unique as fingerprints. They bear friction-ridged skin patterns that can be painstakingly matched. Ulrich testified that 4 of these prints matched Westrom's feet, while one was conclusively a sock print belonging to Jeanie herself. Defense attorneys brought in their own expert, Alicia McCarthy, to refute parts of the footprint evidence. While McCarthy agreed that one footprint belonged to Westrom, she argued that most prints were inconclusive or could belong to others. This dispute over the footprint analysis became one of the key arguments in Westrom's upcoming trial. Together, the DNA and footprint evidence pointed directly at Jerry Westrom, but questions remained. How did his DNA and footprints come to be at the scene? Could this have been from an innocent visit, contamination, or something more sinister? Prosecutors contended the nature of the crime did not support inadvertent presence, emphasizing the violent struggle and timing of the footprints. The defense sought to introduce alternate explanations and remind jurors of other men with violent histories who had been linked to the scene via DNA or footprints without charges. The human element. Westrom's arrest sent ripples through the community and his family. The man behind the DNA was no faceless criminal. He was a husband, father, businessman with a past. The case showed how darkness can hide behind even the most normal of facades. Meanwhile, Jeannie's mother, Betty Ekman, watched closely, her decades-long pursuit nearing a tragic resolution. Jerry Westrom's arrest in 2019 brought a long-awaited reckoning for the murder of Jeanie Childs. But the path to justice would unfold in a courtroom where facts, evidence, and human emotions collide. The trial began in early 2022 amid intense media attention and emotional tension. For prosecutors, this was a chance to close a chapter that spanned a quarter-century. For the defense, it was a battle to dismantle what they called circumstantial evidence and prevent a wrongful conviction. Jeanie Childs' family sat in the courthouse, bearing the weight of decades of grief and hope. The prosecution presented a meticulous narrative woven from forensic evidence. DNA matching asterisk experts described how genetic material found at the crime scene matched Westrum's DNA with overwhelming certainty. Footprint analysis asterisk forensic specialists explained how several bloody footprints bore the unique ridge patterns of Westrum's bare feet, a near impossibility to replicate. The brutal nature of the attack indicated an immediate and violent confrontation. The blood-smeared footprints suggested the killer moved through the apartment with urgency and violence. Westrum's defense focused on challenging the prosecution's narrative. They introduced expert testimony questioning the certainty of the footprint analysis, pointing out that only one print was definitively Westrum's, while others remained inconclusive. More importantly, the defense called attention to the absence of a clear motive. Westrum had no known connection to Jeanie Childs beyond vague acquaintanceship, and no witnesses saw him near the apartment on the fateful night. They also highlighted the presence of unidentified male DNA on Jeanie's personal items, suggesting other possible suspects. After days of testimony, cross-examination, and expert debate, the case rested in the hands of the jury. The jurors faced a complex web of evidence spanning decades, forensic science, and conflicting expert opinions. After deliberating, the jury delivered a verdict, guilty of first-degree murder. Westrum was sentenced to life imprisonment, ending a long quest for accountability. In the courtroom, Jeanie's mother, Betty Ekman, wept quietly as justice was served, though the years of waiting had left indelible scars. Westrum's family struggled with the weight of the verdict, facing the harsh reality that a man they knew was now a convicted killer. This trial highlighted the transformative power of forensic science in cold cases, as well as the complexities of human stories underpinning such legal battles. Though justice was served through new technology, important questions remained reminders that the path to truth is rarely simple or straightforward. The trial's conclusion closed a painful chapter. For Betty Ekman, Jeanie's mother, the verdict was bittersweet, a long overdue measure of justice finally achieved, but never replacing the loss of a daughter. Betty had spent decades living with unanswered questions, her life shadowed by silence and sorrow. Through her persistent advocacy, she kept Jeanie's memory alive and the hope for truth burning bright. In a final letter she wrote to Jeanie years before the resolution, she reflected, "I love you so much. I wish I could have protected you better, but I promise your story will be told." Her love and perseverance became the heart of a family's journey through grief toward healing. Westrum's conviction shocked many, challenging assumptions about crime and character. A man who appeared as an ordinary member of society was unmasked as a killer, revealing how darkness can hide in plain sight. Communities grappled with questions about awareness, prevention, and the lingering shadows of unsolved crimes. Mothers, daughters, and survivors saw in Jeanie's story a call to vigilance and justice for all victims. Jeanie Childs' case stands as a powerful example of how forensic science has transformed criminal investigations. Decades ago, police were limited by the tools available: no rapid DNA sequencing, no genetic genealogy. While forensic advances offer hope, they also raise complex questions. Privacy issues arise regarding genetic data use. Could innocent people be implicated through distant relatives? What safeguards exist? Defense attorneys stress the need for careful interpretation of forensic evidence to avoid wrongful convictions. Jeanie's trial demonstrated both the power and limits of forensic science and the vital role of expert testimony. Justice in cases like Jeanie Childs's is rarely perfect or complete. Convictions offer accountability but cannot erase trauma or loss. They remind us of the enduring human stories behind every crime of families who wait, struggle, and cling to hope. The Jeanie Childs case is a testament to the persistence of justice, the evolving nature of forensic science, and the resilience of those left behind. As cold cases continue to be investigated worldwide, Jeanie's story serves as a beacon, inspiring law enforcement, forensic scientists, and families alike to never give up. Because every victim deserves justice, every family deserves answers, and every life matters. Jeanie Childs' story cannot be boiled down to facts and evidence alone. It is a haunting reminder of the fragility of life, the pain of loss, and the power of science to bridge time and bring truth to light. May her memory inspire courage, compassion, and the unwavering quest for justice, so that no voice is silenced and no victim forgotten.